We're going to do something a little bit different today. My name's Don Scheibenreif. I'm a senior analyst. I'm based in California. And we're actually going to start today's presentation with a poll. So if you would be so kind as to open up your Conference Navigator app on your phone. Polling, we do it from time to time. This is one of the sessions that was selected for it. So I'm going to ask you a question before you even see our work, which is, which of these statements best reflects what you think of when you hear the term autonomous business? And these are the selections. It's in your app, so you can answer it at any time during the session. But we wanted to get a sense from people about when you hear the term, which you heard in the keynote earlier today, what comes to mind. Okay? So you have your app. You can answer now. You can answer during the session. And we'll return to the results towards the end of today's presentation. Does that work for folks? It's also a good way to use the app. All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? This morning's keynote, you heard the term autonomous business, and there's a reason for that. We at Gartner believe that we are on the edge of a new business era, and it's really important. So think of this as kind of an education session. Now, we're entering a world where a lot of things, a lot of business processes that we engage in are becoming more automated, and in some cases even more autonomous. This is a picture of the Tuas port in Singapore. It's the world's first fully autonomous port. And it was a very ambitious project. They use AI to actually, with driverless vehicles, they use driverless cranes, and AI is essentially coordinating the activities of the entire port. It's the ambition of this port to be able to be the world's first fully autonomous port, but also to be able to serve vessels in excess of 400 meters. And they hope to do this by 2040. Now, we hear stories like this over and over again from clients. Some processes being automated, some operation is being automated, and basically it's changing the way that we do things. Now today though, we are literally 10 years into our digital transformation journeys. How many of us have the scars to prove it? Your own digital transformation journey, right? It's been a long time. It's been 10 years since that concept was first introduced. But it's undeniable, and we're probably all tired of talking about it, that just when things can't get any more interesting, AI seems to be hovering over everything right now. It's dominating everything at this point, almost to a fault. With AI, robotics, automation, there's a lot of things that are swirling around, and it's forcing us to rethink a lot of things. What is a customer? What is the nature of competition? What types of products should we put out there? How should we pay for it? And how does leadership and the entire workforce change? So in our opinion, AI is hovering over everything, but it's also acting like a bridge. But actually, it's more like a vehicle. It's moving us from digital business to someplace else, whether we like it or not. Now, I also work on our CEO survey research, and CEOs have AI on the brain. 79% believe that AI is the #1 technology that's going to disrupt their industry over the next 3 years. And that's a good thing, right? Are your CEOs interested in AI? Pretty much. The bad news is that of that group, 71% say that their operating model and their business model is not ready for AI. So while they like AI, they're admitting that the organization simply is not ready. They know a change is coming, and they're trying to get ready for it, which we'll talk more about on Wednesday. If you look at Andy Jassy, who is the CEO of Amazon, he has a very interesting view on where this world is headed. He believes that AI agents are going to create new opportunities for Amazon and pay attention to the scope and speed at which they can innovate. So when we think about AI, it's not just about efficiency. It's about the changing scope of what change is possible. Now, AI is a tool. Let's be honest. It's everywhere, but it's just a tool. So we have to ask the question, as Gartner, what is the business change? It's very similar to the question we asked 10 years ago about digital business. It is more than just technology. It's actually changing the way that we operate. We also have to answer for you, where is this headed? What do I have to do to get ready? The truth is, and this is a little bit of patting ourselves on the shoulder, we actually had an answer to this 10 years ago. Back in 2015, we imagined an era called autonomous business. I'll read to you the definition which we put out there. the optimization of business outcomes through the inclusion of goal-seeking, self-learning artificial agents. A typical Gartner technobabble definition. We're famous for it. But it was a bold declaration at that time because we were just getting started on digital business and now autonomous business. So it literally sat as a box in our chart for 10 years. Until earlier this year, we figured we better start talking about it because of AI. There's really no escaping it. So our position, Gartner's position, is that this new era that we are migrating to is called autonomous business. In some ways, it's already here. And whether you like it or not, it's coming. And it's something we've waited 10 years to talk to you about. Now, here's an updated definition. It rolls a little bit easier off the tongue. Autonomous business is a strategy that uses self-improving, adaptable technology to make decisions, take action, and create new types of value. Okay? AI is a part of it, but it's not the only thing. That's why digital business today is not called social business or mobile business or e-business. It's called digital because it represents a change in how we operate. Now, what's interesting with agentic AI, you all know that it can make decisions on its own without human intervention. At first, this technology is going to augment our decision-making, and eventually it will start making decisions for us. We believe that organizations are going to have to go beyond the outcomes that they're getting from digital business to make way for autonomous business. And it's a really, really exciting transition. But we want to clarify a few things first. The first one is we are clearly still in the era of digital business. Make no mistake. We still get calls from clients about how do I get started with digital, which is fine. The thing we want to impress upon you is that autonomous business builds on the foundations you've already established with digital business. It doesn't mean you have to start over. It means that some of the technologies will need to be refactored for a world of greater and greater autonomy. So what you're doing today is still relevant, but autonomous business is a step change. It answers and addresses a couple questions like who are we selling to, which is basically we're selling to machines and agents at some point. What do we make? Products that can adapt automatically. And lastly, how do we sell and how do we operate, which is, again, incorporating more autonomous technologies. So the thing we want to impress upon you is that autonomous business is the next stage. It builds on what you're already doing, and you're already ready for this. Now, let's talk about what autonomous business is and what it's not. Autonomous business does not mean automation. Autonomy and automation are really two different concepts. Automation, as you know, really requires human intervention and human quality control. Whereas autonomy, a lot of those decisions are made absent of humans. The truth is we need autonomy and automation together on this path to digital business. We also believe that autonomous business is not an organization without people. You heard a lot in the keynote earlier today about the AI and people. We firmly believe that people will be involved in an autonomous business, but there may not be as many of them as that exist today, and their jobs may be very different. Now, let's talk about what autonomous business is. It does include the public sector. Many of you in the public sector have gone through your own digital transformation journeys over the last 10 years. You will also be part of this autonomous business future. The last thing I'll tell you about autonomous business is that it's a journey as much as it is a destination. It's a little bit like riding a metro in a big city. If you think about it, a metro has stops. You get on and off as you please. You can go forward, you can go backward. It's not a race, but a journey. And our belief is that in the autonomous business journey, there are different fare zones. So there are basically 4 different types of fares you could buy on the train. There's foundational autonomy, there's scalable autonomy, intelligent autonomy, and then fully autonomous. Each one has slightly different implications. The foundational autonomy is really about ad hoc automation, stuff that we're already doing today. Scalable autonomy is when we think about different systems inside of an organization that can be more autonomous. Intelligent is enterprise-wide autonomy. And then full autonomy is when the system is able to interact seamlessly with its ecosystem. Okay, so think of the autonomous metro line as having 4 main fare zones. The further you go on the line, the more expensive it is, the greater the capabilities, but also the greater risks that you're taking. So now let's imagine that there are 4 different metro lines. We have one for operations. We actually have one for the workforce. We have one for products. And we have one for customers. So those are the 4 elements of autonomous business. And then you've got the what we call the programmable economy is what powers all of the train lines. So we've got 4 lines, and the programmable economy, that is really part of the autonomous business model. Now, one of my colleagues in the room, Hung Lee Hong, asked this question 10 years ago, how digital do you want to be? We've updated that to be, how autonomous do you want to be? That is the question that every organization should be thinking about. So now what I would like to do is go through the 5 elements of autonomous business one at a time briefly, give you, define it, give you some examples, show you how our CEOs feel about it, and then give you a prediction. And at the end, we'll have some recommendations you can take forward. The first one is autonomous operations, and these basically are operational processes that can actually learn and operate independent of human interaction. They can take their own actions, and they actually help an organization achieve more. Now, we talked about the autonomous port, but there are also things like autonomous factories, autonomous convenience stores, and even autonomous restaurants. So we're seeing more and more of that in the marketplace. But to give you some examples, in a factory, Castrol makes a drum of lubricant that basically, once it reaches a certain level, it automatically reorders on its own. That would be considered foundational autonomy. CSP out of Asia, they make these basically convenience stores out of shipping containers. They drop them in all different types of places, and they are the type of store that you can actually walk in, you check in with the app, you pick up the products, and you leave, and there's actually no one in the store. It charges you automatically. John Deere, if we go to the intelligent automation fare zone, they make a mobile weed spreader and, not weed spreader, a weed killer, and a fertilizer spreader that actually has 360-degree cameras mounted on its roof, so it can actually see the environment around it. It determines where it wants to go to be able to achieve its mission. And then Philips, the large technology and manufacturer, they actually have an automated factory. They have 128 robots that have dexterity, which means they can pick up things, and they're very good about that. They are able to make 15 million electric razors a year, and the role of the humans in that factory is quality control. So again, these are a few of many of the examples that we've been collecting about how operations are becoming more autonomous. When we ask CEOs, how do you feel about this? 38% of CEOs tell us they plan to fully automate some processes like logistics, transportation, and even production over the next 3 years. And Gartner predicts that only about 15% of agentic AI deployments will be highly autonomous versus 5% today. And there's a reason for that. While as excited as we are about agentic AI, we recognize that there are limitations and a lot of things have to fall into place before they can be fully applied. Now, the second part of the autonomous business model is the augmented workforce. Again, you heard a lot about that today in the keynote. And that's basically a practice where we combine the best of people and the best of machines to improve decision making. Today, right now, this is about saving time. A lot of us are using these tools to help make our jobs easier. But over time, it's about making decisions. From tactical decisions short term to long-term strategic decisions, this technology is designed to help us get better, not as only frontline workers, but also in management as well. Now, this may mean that fewer people can have an outsized impact because of the presence of the technology. If we go back to our metro line, many of us use Workday today, and that would be considered foundational autonomy, where a lot of the tasks and work that we do is on a single platform. But there's some emerging technologies out there that are pretty cool. Fountain is an all-in-one cloud-based hiring and recruitment platform for businesses. They basically can streamline the entire recruitment process, and they do this for a lot of organizations with high volume and hourly workforces. And then in the intelligent fare zone, we've got Hindustan Unilever. They have over 100,000 ice cream coolers spread across India. They used AI and ingest information like weather forecasts and sales figures to help improve their ability to deliver service and making sure those coolers are stocked. So again, these are all examples, small examples of how organizations are using technology to improve the performance of workers. Now, what's interesting to us is that CEOs, over half tell us they are working on a strategy on how to manage a human-machine workforce. How do they all work together? And this could be as simple as deploying Microsoft Office 365 with Copilot all the way through to having robots work with you on the factory floor. And just like we said 2 years ago, the key to unlocking the value of AI is understanding the relationship between humans and machines. Now, we predict that by 2028, about 40% of all the services that we receive as individuals will actually be AI augmented. And in fact, we may end up paying more when a human is involved, believe it or not. And we've all kind of seen how that has played out. Now, the third area of the autonomous business line is AI-powered products, what we call auto-adaptable products. These are products that change after you buy them. They adjust to the conditions of the world around them. And a great example of this is the Tesla. Anybody here own a Tesla? A few people. Those products change as you own them with software updates. But we're going to see more and more products like that be able to evolve after you buy them. Now, going back to our metro line, Samsung in the foundational autonomy has a really cool television, basically Samsung Vision AI. The TV scans the room, who's in it, what the acoustics are, and also the surroundings of the TV itself. For example, if you like to watch sports, the TV will actually adjust the sharpness of the picture. It will actually enhance the sound, and it can even track the movements of the ball itself. So that's a level of autonomy we haven't seen before. Now, in the insurance industry, there's a really interesting company called Next Insurance. They're based in the US. They realize that after you sign an insurance policy, in this case for small business, that the policy is obsolete. So what they do is they use APIs to actually get information from the market and from the business itself to continuously update the coverage. AI is doing this so that when you basically have a small business insurance policy, it is a living policy, which is very different for the insurance industry. And then finally, Caterpillar and Komatsu have a auto-adapting autonomous haul truck. So we're all familiar with the autonomous mines and the autonomous trucks. They tend to drive on a straight line road. These trucks, however, can go off-road, and they can adapt to the environment around them. It's part of the autonomous haulage system that Caterpillar has developed. And again, a really exciting development in autonomy. Most of the autonomous stuff that we're seeing is really coming from the manufacturing and the transportation industries. We asked CEOs, what are your plans to develop and deploy auto-adapting products? 75% expect to have that by the year 2029. Which means that if you make products, and sometimes products don't have to be physical in nature, they can also be virtual in nature, you'll have to rethink your product development process, the competitive landscape. So it will basically force a change in your whole product development process. And then we predict by 2030, enterprises that don't adopt some type of auto-adapting product strategy stand to lose about 25% of their market share to people that do. Our fourth element of the autonomous business model is machine customers. It's something that I've been working on personally for about 10 years now, and we've actually published a book on that. It's fascinating how how much has developed even in the last 2 years. But a machine customer is a non-human economic actor that can exchange goods and services, obtains goods and services in exchange for payment. They can be physical in nature, like a vehicle, or they can be an AI agent that acts on your behalf. Now, I've been tracking this for a long time. These are 4 of hundreds of examples we've acquired or found. On the foundational side of autonomy is the HP Instant Ink service. If you have an HP printer and you sign up for the service, the printer will automatically order ink just before you're about to run out and have it shipped to your door. Walmart is working with a company called Pactum to use an AI-enabled platform to negotiate on its behalf. So this was mentioned in the keynote this morning. Basically, if I sell shopping carts, I will negotiate not with a live person, but with a bot. And I believe firmly that this is the sleeper application that's out there today. That we talked to the CEO of Pactum recently, and they told us they have 10% of the Fortune 500 as clients. So don't be surprised when you go to negotiate with your customers or some other entity, you might end up negotiating with the bot. And then in the fully autonomous fare zone is Waymo vehicles from Google. I have not had a chance to ride in one yet, but I was in Phoenix earlier this year and I saw people that did. It is super cool. The autonomous capabilities of these vehicles are only growing in nature, and so at some point they will likely be able to earn money on their own and request their own service. Now you might be asking, how many machines are we talking about? Gartner just published its first ever forecast for machine customers, and between B2B and B2C, it's going to be about 12 billion of these machines that will be able to act as customers by the year 2030. And this does not even count the AI agents in that number, which we're working on a separate forecast. But you can imagine it could be twice or even 3 times that amount. So we're talking about billions and billions of machines or AI agents that are capable of becoming customers. We also asked CEOs, what are you doing about this? And we were surprised to find out that over 50% of CEOs say that we are working on a strategy to accommodate machines as customers. In fact, 29% say they have a strategy right now. So no longer is this a niche topic, it's actually moving more and more into the mainstream. We predict that by 2030, 18 trillion, yes, trillion US dollars will either be transacted by machines or influenced by machines by the year 2030. And that doesn't even include, as I mentioned, the billions of AI agents that will likely occur and be part of our lives in the coming years. But we're not done yet. Billions of machine customers raises 2 fundamental issues. Will your IT systems be able to accommodate inquiries or transactions with machines? And number 2, will your financial systems and operations be able to handle lots of transactions with machines or other types of entities? And that leads us to our 5th and final element of autonomous business, the programmable economy, which my friend David Furlonger works on. This is largely about new forms of money. Every day we hear news about the world becoming more and more programmable. But unfortunately, our economic system is not keeping up. We have to have an economic system that is natively intelligent, supports any kind of commercial activity, using any kind of money in exchange by any kind of actor. Today's financial system cannot do that today, and that needs to change for this autonomous future to really take hold. So some emerging examples of this come from, in the foundational fare zone, is WeChat. Phenomenally successful in integrating payments into their social media or their social media platform. But the one that I find most interesting and the scalable is a firm called BankCow. And what it means is, as an individual investor, I can buy a share of a cow, believe it or not. And when that cow goes to market, I can get the benefits of that, of being a fractional owner of a cow. So if you want to be a fractional owner of a cow, go to BankCow. Lofty is a similar platform for rental properties. They basically tokenize rental properties. So you can buy a piece of a rental property and then be able to trade those in an aftermarket. So David says that a lot of assets are being tokenized to allow a financial exchange, which is kind of cool. And then Siemens, in the intelligent, they work with JP Morgan Chase's cryptocurrency division, alternate payments division to basically integrate more of those practices into their financial processes. What they've been able to do is reduce the number of bank accounts and cash on hand because of the adoption of different types of currencies. So these are all developments that are swirling together. And the majority of CEOs tell us that they expect they will be reevaluating their entire portfolio, the asset portfolio, to meet the needs of this programmable economy. So again, lots of things that could not be tokenized can be tokenized and used for exchange. Now, when we think about the economic opportunity, we estimate that the programmable economy, all these machines, all these tokenized cows, all these things that are happening, will actually raise GDP across the world to the tune of $42 trillion by the year 2030. That may sound like a lot of money, but if you think about the billions of machines, the billions of AI agents, the new markets that are going to be opened up, those numbers seem pretty conservative, actually. And this has a lot of implications for different types of markets. IT strategy, government policy, there's a lot of things that are going to be evolving with that. So we predict by 2030, 22% of monetary transactions will be programmable. So again, these are things like cryptocurrency or tokenization in other forms to be included in terms of use. So this future is definitely coming at us. But I won't lie to you, we're at the beginning of autonomous business. Just like we said 10 years ago with the beginning of digital business, there's a lot of hurdles to cross. Just think about the technology. The technology is cool today, but it has a long way to go. Trust and security, we hear about that all the time. The impact on enterprise culture. When businesses can run with a lot less people, what does that mean for the people that are left behind? Energy, which is we'll talk more about that in the CEO survey. Energy is a huge issue right now, as well as financial systems, data, and regulation. So there's a lot of barriers to getting to this world of autonomous business. But that shouldn't stop us from at least exploring and at least trying. So let's go back to the poll and see what people told us. When you hear the term autonomous business, what's the first thing that comes to mind? So self-operating processes is the one that seems to be out there, which is great. Minimal human oversight and AI-driven decision-making. So these are all very much in line with how we've been talking about it. So with that, what is next for CIOs? Well, we believe that just as digital business 10 years ago was a force multiplier for your business and your public sector institution, the same thing will be true for autonomous business. We believe that CIOs, again, have to create the space for innovation for their enterprises. This is an opportunity, and I promise you, nobody's talking about this right now. People are just talking about, if they talk about anything, it's AI business. But autonomous business is much more than that. So part of the opportunity for the CIO is to educate the CEO and the board about what autonomous business is, just as you did 10 years ago with digital business. It's a huge opportunity. Now, let's go back to the metro lines. Let's give you a few practical things that you can do back home to get ready or to move on the path to get on the train line to our autonomous business. And on the operations side, you could select 5 key operational processes in your organization and slate them for autonomy. On the workforce side, you could identify roles in the organization that can benefit from AI-enabled adaptive training. You heard a lot this morning about retraining. This is the opportunity for the CIO to actually get involved in that. On the product side, invest in AI in all elements of your product development process or your service development process if you're a public sector institution. And then when it comes to customers, and this could also apply to citizens, make sure that your portals are capable of handling inbound traffic from all those billions of machines that are out there in AI agents. And then finally, with the programmable economy, start to learn about these different forms of currency and how they could be applied within your organization. So just like we said with digital business, this is an opportunity for step change and real growth. Your CEOs or your heads of ministry are already thinking about what AI is going to mean to the business model and the operating model. They see this as a big technological change, and we know because we've got the research. They're preparing their vision and strategies for this next era of business. And they're prepared to listen to trusted advisors like you. So our best advice to you is be that advisor, start to educate the organization on autonomous business, and be that voice. Take all the skills that you've developed for your own digital transformation initiatives and apply them on this journey on the metro line to autonomous business. There's a lot more research that's forthcoming from Gartner on autonomous business. This was just an introduction. Thank you so much for your attention, and we'd be happy to talk to you more about this. Thank you.